have this thing on Sunday afternoons where I like just put on some good music and clean up my workshop. Kind of try and reset it for the next week. I don't think, like if your workshop's a mess, you can't build good cars. It's like, so today what I was doing was going through and collecting up all the little loose bits and pieces from not just the Barn Find GDV, but other cars that I had. I had little trays full of like nuts and bolts and things like that. And I've gone through a lot of it and I've got it ready for electroplating and sandblasting and paint and some stuff to go off to components restorers. Yeah, there's quite a lot. So I thought I'd do a little Sunday evening technical to show you all the little bits and pieces that do come out of a classic car and what's the best thing to do with them to get them like brand new again. So it's not the most exciting episode, not taking anything apart in this episode. So that's a surprise. But part of restoring a classic car is the nitty-gritty little detail stuff and the things that get lost and the things that you don't quite know what to do with, and it's like the tiny little things, and that's what this episode's about. So let's have a look at this table behind me and all the stuff off of the Barn Find GDV, yeah, and some of the stuff off the 64 Jeweler Sprint that's in the back. This is all the stuff that I'm sending off for electroplating. It's all going to come back silver. And I've got an electroplater that actually does that. And he does a very good job. However, he has a minimum, because he does things on a commercial level, so he has a minimum charge. So in order for me to make it worth his while, I have to get pretty much stuff from 3 cars together before I send it off. And everything I make sure before I send it off is cleaned up and ready to go. Like these are the bump stops for the latest style, like 1750 and 2-liter cars had these bump stops on the lower control arms. And all this kind of stuff. I like to have electroplated so it looks nice and brand new. But I had to go through it and wire brush it and bead blast it so it had no paint and no rust or anything. So as a guest to him, he puts it in a little chemical bath and then straight into the barrel platers and it's done. This guy's very good. He never loses anything, but you have to prep everything yourself. Stuff like this. This is the boot latch for a 105, and even these completely assembled things, you just send straight to him, and he'll do it. So I'm very lucky that I have that kind of contact, but it does mean putting a whole lot of stuff together. These are all suspension bolts, and well, not just suspension stuff from the whole car, and yeah, that is 3 cars worth of bolts right there. Right, this box is a little bit more interesting because, and this is going to a different supplier, this is stuff with plastic and rubber in it. And I want to have it electroplated, but I don't want to take any of the stuff off because I'm just worried about losing stuff and breaking this. And I am not very keen on trying to take that apart and damaging these little rubber grommets. So I like to have them electroplated with them in. And you can see I've had it done before and it looks like, I've got a friend of mine who has a little electroplating plant and he does this without taking the rubber out, and he gets a very good finish and it seems to last quite a long time. These 2 boxes are things that I haven't gotten around to prepping yet. It's pretty eclectic at the moment. I haven't really sorted it out. This kind of stuff is all incredibly fiddly, and you have to make sure that you treat it right and catalog it properly and don't lose any of it, because if you lose any of the stuff, it's just about impossible to replace without having to go and buy like new headlight bowls and strip them down. See, this is where those parts come from. And obviously I want to have the bowls sandblasted and repainted in black because these have orange paint all over them. And I want to have like a lot of these little bits and pieces electroplated so they look brand new. And yeah, it's important to take a lot of photographs of this kind of stuff as you're going along so you can remember where it all goes. I keep notes in my phone on Evernote of what's what and where it comes from. There are a few things that I have to sort out tomorrow morning before I take these out. Like these are the spindles for the Barn Find GDV, and the lower ball joint is still stuck in there, so I'm going to have to do something about that. A lot of the components for this car, like the components for the braking system, I'm having redone by a specialist, so I'm sending them out as they are. And all of this stuff is going for, this is from a couple of different cars because the stuff that came out the Barn Find GDV, a lot of it was pretty badly rusted out for some reason. and I had a couple sets of this channeling that holds the door rubbers in. So I'm going to send it all off to be sandblasted and repainted, and then from this I should be able to make up one good set to do the door rubbers on the GDV. A known weak point of Alfa Romeo 105s is the steering box. Yeah, I'm going to send this out to a professional who's going to remachine everything inside it, make sure there's no play in the steering, and then fit a modern double-lipped oil seal in the bottom so it doesn't leak anymore. A lot of people just fill these with grease, but the grease doesn't get on the contact surfaces inside properly, and then they wear out much faster than they should. Right, this is where it gets difficult. This box over here, this is also my box of things I have yet to disassemble completely. And as you can see, it has the rear trailing arms from the Barnfine GDV, which I'm not really going to use because they're two different trailing arms. They're one's from an early car, one's from a much later car. So I've got a different set that I'm going to send for painting for the GDV. I'm just going to replace them. But this box goes deep. It is full of suspension components and like starter motors and engine mounts and stuff and anti-roll bars, and I'm going to get around to that this week, but for now it's going nowhere. And this is all the stuff that is going to go away for painting. My plan is sandblast, etch prime, and paint in 2K satin black. There's a lot of stuff here. I mean, it is a ton. This box over here, that is densely packed full of stuff. In fact, I might just have a go at unpacking it so you can see how much comes off a 105 when you strip it down. See, headlight bowls stripped down. All of this is, it's a ton of stuff. Right, so you can see just how deep that goes. I mean, it is packed to the bottom of little bits and pieces, all of which has to go satin black. And there's no way I could do this myself. So this is when I enlist the help of the professionals who are much better equipped at tackling this kind of scale in a reasonable time frame. Part of working with classic cars is knowing what your limitations are, and I can tell you for sure this is beyond the effort of beyond the realm of one man in his workshop. So I'm going to send this off, and hopefully by the end of the week it'll come back looking brand new and fresh, and it can go on the shelf with everything else. Right, the wiring loom, I am not going to do anything with. Right, I'm not going to do anything with the wiring loom just yet. I'm going to do a full episode about how to restore a wiring loom and how to trace back what's original and what's been spliced in at some point. So I'm going to box this up for a week or two and get back into that wiring loom a little bit later. Right, the fuel tank. This fuel tank I'm going to send out to a radiator and fuel tank specialist to have it cleaned out properly and have a new inner seal. They can put a sealant inside it that acts like almost like a bladder within the tank to stop any rust from ever happening again. But first I have to cut the filler cap off because I don't have the key for that one. I mean, I have to take the sender unit out and hopefully it still works, but if it doesn't, I think I've got one somewhere that will fit. Right. So this is all the stuff that has to go away tomorrow, and I'm quite looking forward to that because it's going to make a big difference to how I feel about this build, having all this stuff coming back looking brand new, especially all the suspension and the stuff that's going black. All that sandblasting and painting is going to make a huge difference. Right, so that's all the stuff I've had lying around the workshop for a couple of weeks now, and I'm looking forward to getting it out, getting it to where it needs to go, and getting it back looking brand new. This is part of the stuff about owning classic cars, that you really need to learn who the right people are in your town who you can trust with this kind of stuff, because if I had to try and restore all these individual components myself and sandblast and paint and do everything myself, I mean, I would sit here for months doing nothing else besides painting suspension components. It's good to know when to shop things out and when to do things yourself. it's finding a good balance between the two. Anyway, this has just been a little short update video. No work being done in this episode, unfortunately. Yeah, but join me in the next episode, which should be out on Wednesday. Cool. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.